today we are previewing a game which is coming soon to Kickstarter, and as you can see it's Murder at Blood Mansion. Now before we start I must stress that this is a pre-production copy of the game. There is no box and there are some manual alterations to some of the cards which you will see as I go through them a little bit later. And this is a game where everyone around the table plays one of a number of suspects, and depending on whether or not you are the murderer, you either have to escape the mansion with the weapon, the murder weapon, or you have to accuse the murderer and have the weapon in your hands. So a little bit of asymmetry there. The rules aren't that complex, but there's quite a bit of strategy involved, especially as you figure out who the murderer is, and you have to stop people from getting different types of cards, which we'll go through in a little while. So let's take a quick look at Murder at Blood Mansion.
Murder at Blood Mansion is a strategic card game for 2 to 6 players. It's 1899 England, and Lady Blood, heiress to the centuries-old estate, has invited a few of her friends over to the mansion for the weekend, where of course a murder takes place. Your job is to be the first to solve the crime. Murder at Blood Mansion is a unique, easy-to-learn, diabolically strategic card game that we know you and your friends will love.
Okay, so we'll take a quick look at the cards as we go through the rules. This is going to be a very, very brief overview. If you want to know more, then just go to the website, which I'll link in the video description below. So the very first thing you'll do is choose a murder weapon using these M cards. So we will say that the murder weapon is the sword for this example. So that just goes to one side. The other murder weapons aren't used in the game. Everyone around the table gets one of these tokens to show them what character they are. And then you draw a suspect. Now this is done out of plain sight, so people don't know who the actual murderer is, but for this example we will say that Tabitha has been drawn as the murderer. So you get rid of all the other cards, so you'll have all these separate, pick one at random and then discard the rest, and that gets shuffled into the deck along with all the red herring suspect cards. You then deal the cards out to the players. So there are a number of weapons that remain in the game, but obviously only one is the actual murder weapon, which in this case is the sword. You've got a number of actions that denote you can do things to other players, like steal cards from them or force them to give you cards or discard cards. You also have guilt points, and this is how you win the game. So depending on the number of players, there's a set number of guilt points you need to get to win the game. So if you are not the murderer, and you eventually, during the course of the game, will discover who the murderer is as the cards get passed around. So if you're not Tabitha in this example, if you had in your hand the sword, because that's the murder weapon, and 40 guilt points, then you would win the game. You could say, aha, I accuse Tabitha of being the murderer. Now don't guess if you don't know who the murderer is, because that sort of ruins the fun of the game. If you do happen to be the murderer and you find out, so for in this case the player who is Tabitha, then your win condition is slightly different. You have to match the symbols at the top of the card. So as you can see, there's 2 keys here. So if you had those 2 keys and the murder weapon in your hand, then you would be able to win the game by escaping. So as I say, there's a video on the website which explains the rules in a bit more depth. I really like the art on these cards though. They're really great and a fantastic style. If you look at the other suspects, we've got Lady Blood, Lucius, Merryweather, Demetrius and Zona. So it just adds a bit of variety to the game because everyone's playing a different suspect, and every time there's going to be a different weapon that comes out at the start of the game. So yeah, that's a brief look at the components of this. I've had a couple of games of this with a 4-player group, and we really enjoyed it. As I say, the rules aren't that difficult, but there's quite a lot of strategy involved because you have to, as you're playing, you see the backs of people's hands, so you know what types of cards they've got. So you can strategically try and steal cards from other players if you think they are, for example, the murderer, and you don't want them to get enough guilt cards together to escape. You can take their guilt cards, or you can, if you can see there's a suspect card doing the rounds, and you know a load of red herrings have already escaped, then you can try and steal that suspect card so you know who the killer is. Or you can steal weapons, so you can, if you've got enough guilt points in your hand already, for example, and you can see a couple of people have got weapon cards and you think one of those is the actual murder weapon, you can always try and steal that from someone else with an action card, and then you'll be able to win the game. So lots of different strategies involved in that. I'm really looking forward to seeing this launch on Kickstarter and hope it successfully funds. So we'd just like to thank Braden, the creator of the game, for sending this preview copy. As I say, it's not quite complete, but the art, I think, is pretty much as it's going to be in the final game. There's just a few things I'll need to do, like fix all these little icons on the cards, and obviously design the box and the full manual. There are videos on the website if you want to, as I say, view a bit more information about how the game is played, and a full set of instructions on there as well. So www.bloodmansion.com if you want to know more. Look out for it on Kickstarter soon, and we'll see you for another video at some point in the future. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.